Good morning! Good morning, everyone. My name is Onepeg. There is an update for Dark and Darker. I know, we're not playing Dark and Darker a lot right now, but I promised everybody that I would stick with updates and changes to the game and my thoughts on it because I still like the game, and I'm gonna play the game. So if you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you, all right? But TLDR, for those of you still interested in Dark and Darker stuff and changes, Squires to Riches and High Roller have been added to the water map, and the water map loot pool has not only been buffed, but also movement speed and projectile speed in the water for the water map has also been buffed. There's also some other changes, some buffs to Barbarian, and some a minor nerf to Bard. But we'll get into it. But for those of you that wanted the TLDR, there's your TLDR, and it's been 40 seconds. We did it. Okay, anyway, on to the patch notes. So, a whole lot of bug fixes. We're going to peruse this really quickly. Evil Eye flying outside the map when used while sitting. Penetrating shot could remain even after the skill duration ended. A lot of VFX and issues with monster positions and stuff. They modified the spawn stuff for all of the skeletons and monsters inside of Frost Mountain and Ice Abyss, so you should see less, I would assume, mob density for that, and they also changed some stuff with hit zones on weapons. Fixed an issue where potions placed in dungeons could consistently spawn as potions of water breathing, so we saw way too many water breathing pots. It looks like most of this stuff is just relatively minor issues, no big deal. Okay. Game updates. This is the stuff that most people want to know. Added the Blue Maelstrom to Squires to Riches. Added the Blue Maelstrom dungeon to High Roller. Added Adventure Mode to High Roller. In High Roller Adventure Mode, you can earn only 25% of the AP compared to Standard High Roller Mode. So people in PVE mode will be able to progress their status in their adventure ranks. You can get Demigod in PVE only. Wow. In Adventure Mode, the Druid's Thorn Barrier and Ranger's Purge Shot have been changed so they no longer affect other players. Improved the Mummy Chest module in the Ruins of the Forgotten Castle. A new monster, the Midnight Stag, has been added to the Ruins of the Forgotten Castle. There was a trailer that went out late last night that showed the stag kind of like peering up above some bushes or whatever. The Midnight Stag has been, I guess, alluded to for over a year now in the lore, basically fucking with the Ghost King and some other shit. So, yeah, Midnight Stag will be on the Ruins someplace that we will be able to, I guess, mess with. It sounds as though it will be boss quality because reasons. So, yeah. Changed so boats and Blue Maelstrom now spawn immediately after the session starts. So boats will be in the map right away. Melee attack accuracy has been improved. Improved the VFX of a Ranger's Purge Shot skill. Improved certain animations of the Skeleton Royal Guard. Some animations of the Tidewalkers have been improved. So this is a good thing because Tidewalkers couldn't hit people for shit. Updated several torch icons. Updated various equipment item icons. The size of the Horseman's Axe and Hatchet has been reduced back to the previous scale, and their attack range has been slightly increased. So attack range, I guess your arm reaches a little bit further, but the size of the actual item itself is smaller, back to what it was. Did a little flip-flop, but not really because it sounds like the attack range is still the same. Added new craftable items, so this is cool. Changed so that logs obtained through woodcutting are now purchased by the merchantman Woodsman. It looks as though Woodsman is the only person that will buy logs. So you just sell the logs to the Woodsman. I mean, I guess that canonically makes sense. The possession system of Faustian Bargain has been adjusted, so you now possess a monster closer to your death location than before. All right, so that's kind of cool. Hopefully they've also adjusted the list because some of those monsters didn't make sense for like the ranks that you would maintain. The positions of some UIs in the lobby have been adjusted. Added new loading illustration images. All right, so we're cooking with the concept artist. I like that. The concept artist for Dark and Darker for Iron Mace is awesome. He's really good. Adjusted the overall balance of monsters and map elements in the Frost Mountain Ice Cavern. The loot drop rate for the Blue Maelstrom has been improved. Increased the parry multiplier of Rapier and Cutlass from 1.25 to 1.5x. So we went from 125% to 150% weapon damage. Cutlass might cook now. That might be dirty. But again, the Cutlass only works if you don't end up holding a shield or have a casting focus in your offhand, something like that. Really best suited for like Rogue, Bard, or if you're really feeling frisky, you could do it with a Warlock as long as you were like melee Warlock and really wanted to do some parry shenanigans. I actually think the Cutlass is better at parrying than Longsword just because of the angle of it, but that's just me. Increase the movement speed and action speed while underwater. Also increase the speed of physical and magical projectiles underwater. So this actually ends up being a passive nerf to the boss, to the Mana Ray boss, because one of the biggest issues with fighting Manta Ray was slow attack speed and slow movement speed getting out of the way of his attacks. So you should see an increase in the number of people able to adequately beat Manta. Not that there weren't already like handfuls of people able to do that, but you should see a lot more people now able to reliably beat Manta Ray. Overall, monsters in Faustian Bargain have been polished and balanced. So there we go. Good, good. We'll have to see what the new list looks like. Reduce the attack difficulty of pirate monsters. I agree with this change. Some of the pirates, the way that they would attack was a little bit too strong, I think, for certain cases. So this is a good change. The weakest impact zone has been removed from various weapons, and the remaining impact zones have been adjusted accordingly. Okay, so what that means is, in the case of, let's say, a halberd, like this one, from the wiki. If you ever need to look up stuff like this, look at the Dark and Darker wiki. Every weapon, like let's say the halberd for instance, has what's called impact zones. There are sweet spots and sour spots. The sweet spot being the head of the weapon, the part that you really want to have hit somebody, and then sour spots being this orange and then red zone. Handle hits, which now we have different sound effects for, where you can hear like the metallic impact on something like a halberd or a flanged mace or a morning star, versus the hollow like wooden handle hits that you would hear if you hit something other than the head of the weapon on your target. In this case, what they're saying is this red zone, saying that it's only going to do 60% damage on the handle hit, is going away, and the orange zone will now be the entire length of the handle, in essence. So you'll have a sweet spot that's going to do 100% damage, and then the sour spot at worst, in this case for the halberd, is going to be 80%. No more 60% zone. This ends up being a massive buff to people that end up hitting sour. If a weapon, especially if a weapon has multiple zones. For another example, we have the rapier. In this case, obviously the tip of the rapier hits for full damage. Now the entire rest of the blade will be an orange zone. However, it should be noted in the case of halberds, rapiers, whatever the weapon is, if you end up hitting somebody for whatever reason, they're in like basically bodying your character model to where when you swing, it's like you see your hands going through the character model. Your hands do no damage. That's why sometimes when you swing things like a falchion and you see your arm extended and your arm goes through the attack and does no damage, just swings through them for nothing, it's because you didn't hit any of the hit zones and they were too close to you. Just so that you know. Reduce the reload and firing time of the hand cannon. Increase the weapon damage of the hand cannon by 5. I don't really think that this is necessarily a bad thing. Hand cannon takes forever to wind up and is super easy to dodge in most cases. You see handfuls of kills. Decrease the weapon damage of drum from 24 to 30 to 16 to 28. I'm not a huge fan of this change. I really like how drums were getting used, and I thought it was always shenanigans where you were blasting people with drums from range. But I can understand like decreasing it because like it's a freaking drum. You know, everyone can throw them though. So, I mean, you know, I'm cool. It just, people are going to live a little bit longer if you got a dude throwing a lot of drums, whatever. Increase the barbarian's vigor by 5 and decrease knowledge by 5. So if you want to get that knowledge quest done, or if you want to get the knowledge related quest done, the one where you have to drink the invis pot, you're going to have to stack a little bit more knowledge gear, I guess, on your barb in order to get the quest finished. Increase barbarian's two-hander armor penetration from 5 to 10%. Decrease the barbarian's warcry max health bonus from 25 to 20%. And reduce the bard's dissonance duration from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. So you have a minor nerf in the case of bard running dissonance, which honestly, dissonance is pretty good. You know, 2-second silence is still going to end up causing problems. The biggest issue with dissonance, if you're a caster, is that it interrupts your ability to cast spells while you're in the middle of a cast. So, you know, and it's got a pretty huge AoE. And decreasing barbarian's warcry max health bonus, okay, that makes sense. Two-hander armor penetration going up by another 5%. When you already have rage, the vast majority of barbs running rage, yeah, I don't know. Increase barbarian's vigor by 5. Okay, they get more health. You're going to have barbs being barbs. In threes, though, I will say that barbs seem like they have a little bit harder of a time. Frontline clerics are still obviously like the thing, especially when you're looking at them being able to run max PDR when they're using certain talent abilities and certain skills and like that kind of thing. I still say frontline cleric is probably the strongest tank/damage dealing ability like combo in the game. I'm pretty sure everyone would agree with that at this point. If you're going to do a frontliner, you're probably going to rock a cleric with relatively decent PDR, but they're slow. That's the trade-off. In the case of barb, they get chunked, right? They have a lot of absorptive health. In threes, they seem like a little bit weaker than they are in solos. In solos, I still think that they do pretty good, but this, I don't hate all of this. I don't think this is awful. I know there's a lot of guys in the comments that always see me do these update videos and they think that I'm like super anti-barb and that I'm always whining about barb. Like there's always some yahoo in the comments that's like, oh, see, he's just crying about barbarian again. Like barb is strong. Barb is strong. I don't think that they need another 5% armor pen. This change I don't think is awful. It gives them like maybe another half a hit of worth of survival at base. I don't think that that's bad either. I would like to see a little bit better CC toolkit given to the casters that the barb inevitably like runs down, like Wizard, for instance. I'm okay with it. It's cool. Please note, Goblin Merchant will not be able to recover any equipment lost in High Roller Adventure Mode dungeons. New modes also bring the addition of 2 new artifacts and a slew of new craft items. Thank you and have fun in the dungeons. Okay, the 2 new artifacts are a spear. There's a spear that will come off of the Manta Ray boss. I'm going to assume that the Manta Ray boss is going to function extremely similarly to how the Wyvern boss functions, where it's basically the same boss fight. It's just more health and they deal more damage. That's probably it. So High Roller artifact weapons, spear. There's a spear that does like water damage. It hits people for water damage, it's a slowing effect to attack speed. It's like, I think, what's the water effect? Like 5%, I think. Attack speed reduction and movement speed reduction is like the wet effect. And then there is also a Warmaul that drops, that's covered in barnacles. The Warmaul is new and interesting and unique in that it does a wave attack when you swing it, where if the wave travels through friends, it heals them, and if the wave travels through enemies, it does damage to them. So, could be very cool. Could be very cool. I actually would really like to play with the Warmaul. I haven't gotten, like, no one's really been able to touch it, but I think I'd like to be able to mess with that one. I think it would be fun. Anyway, thank you so much for checking me out. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for lending me your eyeballs, everybody. And I will be live as soon as this video is live, and I will see you in the next video. Okay? Peace.